Welcome back to A Shot of Rosé. This episode, we talk about the untimely death of Mr. Kevin Samuels and a favorite topic from a few years ago, toxic masculinity. Let's go ahead and get into it. Yo, man, welcome back, y'all. For everyone that tuned into the first episode, thank you. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. If you can do me a favor though, go ahead and click that subscribe button, hit the notification so that way you can get all of our updates. To everyone that tuned in again, y'all, thank you for keeping it real. Anyone that gave me any feedback, any criticism, I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate it, because again, constructive criticism is always a beautiful thing if used properly, and if told properly in the correct way, it can always be beneficial. So I'm just going to take that, bottle it up, and make this a better show because of it. Oh man, interesting week, man. To say the least, it definitely ended with a bang, because unless you've been living under a rock or just haven't had your phone on for the last 3 days, the infamous, controversial, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Kevin Samuels passed away May 5th, 2022. I'm not gonna lie to you, that was shocking. So I read multiple reports. It said he was, the actual police department listed him at 53 years old. I seen 57 somewhere. So we're going to say between 53 to 57 years old, which puts him pretty much in about my parents' age range. So not too old, but not young either, right? So one would hope that he lived a very fulfilled life. There is the report that he did pass away from a heart attack. So there's some other things that are being reported as well, but we won't get into that because I don't want to sully the man's name in case that isn't true. I haven't seen a true confirmation of saying that that's the reason as to why he passed away, but he did pass away from a heart attack. And, that should just go to show, hey, as you get older, make sure you're taking care of your body, because any day can be your last day. And Kevin Samuels might have been taking care of himself, but sometimes, things just happen. But there's been a ton of controversy, not just, already surrounding the man as himself, but as he passed away, I have seen arguably 1,000 posts, hundreds of videos of people either just complaining, mostly all men, basically, mostly men just complaining about people being excited and happy that Kevin Samuels has died, and that, that's not right and that's not cool. And I definitely get it, right? Like, you're definitely supposed to celebrate anybody's death. You don't want that kind of energy around you, and that should never be celebrated. You should never celebrate anybody's death. But at the same time, I can definitely understand why some people really ain't shedding a tear, right? Because Kevin Samuels was the type of person that, you could really, depending on, your type of personality, you could probably only really handle him in doses to never really handle him at all. And, he was definitely controversial. With that being said, like I said, he was in that 53 to 57 year old range. So before we dive into the topic of toxic masculinity, we also have to dive into, his age range and his upbringing. And I don't know, I didn't follow Kevin Samuels a whole lot. I did watch some YouTube videos. I did try to watch good portions of it, so that way I could really see like the whole thing, right? Because on Instagram, TikTok, you just get snippets sometimes, right? You get the little 30-second clips or the little 15-20-second clips of like where he's being, without having a better way to say this, being an ass, you know what I'm saying? And that's all you see, right? But you don't get to see the full conversation that happens before that. So I'm the type of person that where I want to take in the entire totality of what's occurring and then make a judgment from there, right? Although, again, still, his delivery was always terrible. And in a nutshell, I guess you could say that Kevin Samuels' legacy, to a certain extent, is sort of kind of just going to be that the message gets lost because of the messenger. And really, that's just kind of how shit really was just with Kevin Samuels. Because in my opinion, he did say some real shit sometimes. But then I see some shit some other times, I'd be like, no, dog, like that ain't the way, bro. Like, you bugging. So, but whether or not you agree with him or not, and you see that shit all the time, he did speak his mind. He did spit that real, and no matter who came and attacked him, he went back full force, right? Like if you call him to your podcast and say, hey, let's debate, Kevin Samuels would show up the very next day and be like, yo, all right, let's get into it. So to that extent, you got to respect the man. So before I get my final take on Kevin Samuels, let's dive into the topic of toxic masculinity. So toxic masculinity has been around for a while, but it was a really, really big topic want to say about 2-3 years ago, around about that 2018, 2019 range. That's when toxic masculinity, the term toxic masculinity, really started to take off, in my opinion. And basically, if you want to just sum it up in a nutshell, it's basically the idea that men develop these toxic traits to define masculinity without ever addressing without taking emotion into account. Pretty much, right? It's this void of emotion where men just bottle everything up and view everything as how a man is supposed to handle things, and generalizing and boxing us into like this little square or box of just, this is where a man is supposed to be. You ain't supposed to cry. You ain't supposed to have feelings. Yo, quit crying about that shit. Get up off your ass. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And there's a very good argument for some things with toxic masculinity, but I've always wanted to dive into this topic because I do believe in toxic masculinity. I do believe some things are definitely toxic in masculinity, but I don't believe that masculinity is toxic itself, right? So in which case, that's something that I've always felt needed to be addressed. So let's go ahead and pull this up here.
Shout out to Instagram. Ladies, if you are over the age of 35.
So let's go ahead and pull this up here real quick. Toxic masculinity. So there's not really a definition on toxic masculinity. It's kind of a, just a general term. So boys had to go to Urban Dictionary. So this is not a technical, it might be, but I didn't see anything from like Webster or dictionary.com. So in which case, this one was the best definition I saw. So in which case we're going to roll with it. So it says a social science term that describes narrow, repressive type of ideas about the male gender role that defines masculinity as exaggerated masculine traits like being violent, unemotional, sexually aggressive, and so forth. Also suggests that men who act too emotional or maybe aren't violent enough or don't do all the things that real men do can get their man card taken away. All right. I don't know who wrote this shit up, but that's kind of it in a nutshell, right? So when talking about toxic masculinity, it's very important that we address the traits that we believe are toxic, and then, also address the traits that we believe is like truly being masculine and understanding that. So one of the things that is actually toxic masculinity is this idea that men aren't supposed to be emotional. You know what I'm saying? The void of emotion. Kevin Samuels used to talk about that a lot, right? How, I guess he wouldn't say emotionless, but he would talk about how like men need to be in control of their emotions. Same way kind of how like with women need to control their emotions. So, for years we've had this issue where it has been perceived that men are supposed to act a certain way and carry themselves a certain way. And that, things like showing sadness or being vulnerable are not man traits, like men are these hardened individuals that have to deal with society and life. And that's kind of true, right? Because at the end of the day, I tell people this all the time, that you are definitely allowed to have your emotions, right? Because as men, we do have emotions. We get sad. We are vulnerable. We have times where we feel broken, where we feel like nothing is going right, where we need a woman by our side or help or guidance or someone there to even uplift us to keep going. But that's only so far, right? Because this is where with toxic masculinity, where I say, okay, well, there is a time when like you have to be masculine, in which case I tell people all the time, like, life is a contact sport, bro. It's not easy. It's hard, right? So yeah, if you let's say you lost your job, right? Sure, you could take a couple of days, be down, cry, do whatever it is you need to do. You may feel broken. You may have gave the company your all. They laid you off. You're going to feel like shit. But eventually you got to get up off your ass, man. Especially if you have a family. You have people who depend on you. You have children. You have a wife. Like, you can't just be boggled down in your emotions because like you're dealing with shit and not understanding, as a man, you're a provider. You have to take care of your family. You know what I'm saying? Same thing goes back to pride. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times people won't take a job because, they feel like it's beneath them. Oh, I was making this kind of salary, so I can't take this right now because, that's just beneath me. That's where we go back to toxic masculinity, right? Because like you feel like because you've reached a certain status in life as a man, that like whatever you need to do in order to take care of what you need to take care of, you brushing that shit off aside because like now you need to be back at a certain level in order to maintain your own ego. Bro, let that shit go. That's where masculinity starts to get toxic. I also think that in relationships, toxic masculinity gets thrown around a lot too. And I do believe in, you know what I'm saying, teamwork make the dream work. But at the same time, there are certain gender roles I feel like in a relationship that where they're just, it should be defined as masculine, right? Like if we're out at the car, right, and we're trying to get the kids up out of the car, as the man, I'm gonna go take my kids up out of the car. My wife shouldn't be having to lift my kids up out of the car. If we're out, you know what I'm saying, I'm constantly watching, surveying, trying to see, because like I'm the protector. Like I'm the person who is there to protect and make sure that my family is safe, right? Because at the end of the day, if shit get to popping off, I'm not hiding behind my wife for shit when that's a man's job to protect his family. You know what I'm saying? The wife runs the household. The man's job is to protect the family. I do believe that that there are certain traits that all men are supposed to have when it comes to raising a family, being a man inside a family, if you want to be a leader. So there are definitely certain aspects of toxic masculinity that, you know, definitely can be addressed. Men can do better about. It needed to be talked about, and I'm glad we talked about it. But there was just some really wild, off the wall, definitely far-reaching topics sometimes where people were just talking about it, and it's like, yo, slow down real quick. Let's get back to understanding what the role of a man is in your relationship, in a relationship, and what the role of a woman is. And that's where, like, I felt like the conversation got broke down. Now, you can feel whatever you want to feel about it. This is just my opinion. I'm just sharing it the same way that Kevin Samuels was sharing it. Although, again, his was a little bit ridiculous. But understand that as a man, I always feel like I am my family's protector. I'm here to make sure that my family is always good. And so whatever I have to do in order to make that shit happen, if I have to go, you know, one day rob a bank, if I ever feel that way, just using that as an example, then that's what the fuck I'm gonna do to make sure that my family is good, if it ever had to come to that. And I don't think that that is a bad thing, right? Because you want someone as the leader of your family who is willing to sacrifice everything to make sure that the family is good. And so in which case, there are definitely times when, you know, I understand that the conversation needs to be had, you know, about gender roles and, like, you know, whether or not the woman should do all the cooking and cleaning, and whether or not, you know, the woman needs to be a stay-at-home wife. All of those are dynamics that need to be talked about before you get married. And that's a part of your relationship and really don't have anything to do with toxic masculinity. But when addressing this is toxic masculinity, most of it has always been about how men view women sexually and in the relationship. And that is where, you know, it gets real dicey. Specifically speaking, that's where really Kevin Samuels really would go off the wall. Sure, he said a lot of real shit, but then at the same time, he would say some absolutely goofy shit. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into Mr. Kevin Samuels real quick with one of, and this one came up recently, and this is one of his takes, which was just absolutely atrocious, bro. Like, never had any reason to say shit like this. And I just don't understand, you know, how someone who, if I had to say, Kevin Samuels was a fairly wise person, but he was also on some real bullshit. And this is one of them.
Shout out to Instagram. Ladies, if you are over the age of 35, if you are over the age of 35 in the United States of America, that officially makes you a leftover woman.
All right. So before we go any further, right, like, we're already on some bullshit. And this is where, when men are trying to defend Kevin Samuels, where they really fall off the wall. Okay, sure, he may say some real shit. Sure, he may be holding women accountable, you know what I'm saying, and just telling a hard truth that they don't want to hear. But how do you defend this? Like, damn the fact that, like, you know, show what he was saying, you know, 5 minutes ago. Show the entire, you know what I'm saying, conversation. Don't just show, you know, the clip to drive your narrative. Motherfucker, I don't need to hear anything else this person has to say when I just heard this right here. Okay, there is never a reason to hear anything else when I just heard a motherfucker say that women over the age of 35 are leftovers. Like, bro, like, this is the reason as to why people think y'all are goofy and don't take you fucking seriously. Like, you're trying to defend some goofball shit. And this is absolutely goofball rhetoric. But let's keep going.
Danger zone! 27 to 35 is the danger zone. That's when you need to focus like a laser on the outcomes you want. But if you have made it to 35 years old and you're unmarried, you are a leftover woman.
Dog.
A leftover woman. You are what is left. Men know that there's something likely wrong with you. Whether you want to hear it or not, I'm going to just go there with you. I'm telling you the truth that you don't want to hear. Men know that there's something likely wrong with you. But you cannot be fit in an adjustable 6 or higher, 35, unmarried. Something wrong with you.
Okay. So, when I was younger, man, I will be perfectly transparent and open about this, right? Like, we were really shitbags, man. The way we spoke about women and the way we thought about women was really fucked up. But when you're younger, you're highly testosterone driven and pretty much only think with your dick, man. That's just the reality here. So my issue with people like Kevin Samuels is it almost feels like that they never grow out of that stage. Like, sure, they get wiser, they have a little bit better fundamental understanding of how life works and shit like that, but for the most part, man, they almost never grow out of this thought process of just relating women to property. You know what I'm saying? Like, because at the end of the day, that's how he's addressing women. He's addressing them as property, saying that women are damaged goods, like goods are commodities. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what a human person is. A person has a soul, a person has feelings, a person has understanding, a person has life. Like, all of these things make up who the person is. And so for you to just generalize all women at 35 saying that like they're damaged goods is incredibly insensitive and just downright bullshit. Because again, I also know a lot of niggas that ain't worth shit, especially when it comes to relationships, right? And there's always this constant disconnect between between women and men, and the dynamics of how family is supposed to work and building relationships and things like that, right? Like, men think that, you know what I'm saying, all women want is just long dick ass, tall niggas with money, and women think that all men want are bad bitches with BBLs and just the ultimate perfect body and slaves and women that cook all the time. And sometimes it can feel like that, right? Because like I said, as I talked about on the first episode, it's a lot of podcasts out here that's really just all the rhetoric is, man. And one that I saw in particular, all they talked about the entire time, every time I see the pod, it's always about like what you bring to the table, constant arguing and bickering back between like men and women. And it's actually several pods like that, but that's just all it is, right? And it's people like Kevin Samuels who keep driving that rhetoric, that keep having it. And I get it, right? Like, the women that call into his, and we're gonna get into that here in a minute, the women that call into his show are definitely full of it. You know what I'm saying? I definitely never felt bad for any of these women because, one, you already know who this man is. He's shown to be the type of person that he is. So, you're gonna get berated, especially like if you say some bullshit. But also, a lot of these women did need to be checked, because the one that I'm gonna bring up here in a minute, it's absolute bullshit what the fuck she says. You know what I'm saying? So in which case, I've definitely understood certain aspects of Kevin Samuels, but to pretend like this man wasn't, or the best way that I can explain it is, a lot of men try to defend Kevin Samuels in a way that I believe that had Kevin Samuels been out in the street and been talking to these same dudes that way, they would be trying to run him a fade. But they were pretending like, yo, no, he's just calling women out on his bullshit. Like, nah, bro, he's being mad disrespectful. And if he was talking to you, like, imagine your boss coming to you and be all like, you know what, man, you suck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not doing your fucking job right. Like, do that shit better, man. Otherwise, I'm gonna fire your ass. You ain't allowing nobody to talk to you unprofessionally like that. Don't even sit up here and pretend like you're gonna allow another grown man to look you in your face and talk to you in that kind of way. And this is the kind of demeaning manner that he would talk to women as, and niggas would try to defend that shit as just him calling women out on hard truths. Nah, bro, there's a way to say shit to people to get your point across without having to be rude about it. But on the flip side of that, I was never triggered by any of that because, again, my people, my mom, my stepdad, that's how they were. They were hard truth tellers, bro. They ain't sugarcoat shit. So to a certain extent, I kind of get it. But he would call women hoes and tricks and all types of shit. And that's where I really feel like that nigga crossed the line. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this woman here, man. This is Kevin Samuels. This is probably the one that I saw, and this one was here recently, where I truly understood that, like, yo, it's more to this man than just sound bites and different things like that. And it's really in this first 5 to 7 minutes. That's where we're probably going to stop here, where I truly see like Kevin Samuels really explaining his perspective and the reason as to why he kind of goes so hard on women. But before we even start, you see like all these women up here at the top just waiting to talk to this man. Like, I don't feel sorry for none of these women, but let's go and get into it here real quick. Okay, so for some reason I had technical difficulties, so we're gonna run this shit back. Let's go ahead and get this started from the beginning right here. Okay, so once again, let's get into this here. Let's roll it.
I'm supposed to settle for a regular type dude.
How tall are you?
I am 5'3".
Dress size?
Okay, so see, off the rip, she talking about how like she's supposed to settle for a regular type dude. What does that even mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, so regular niggas ain't popping? Like I mean, like we just like in low demand out here, bro. Like a motherfucker. I guess we ain't got shit to offer a woman at all. All right.
I am a medium.
Dress size? Number?
A
Don't lie now.
10.
How much did you weigh last time you weighed yourself?
157.
Fresh face out of the shower, just your natural face. On a scale from 1 to 10, what would you rank your looks?
Natural face.
Okay, fresh face out of the shower, your natural face. You can't use 7. What would you rank yourself? 1 to 10.
A 6.
Okay. A 6 is right above average. A 5 is average, right? You're 5'3", 100, dress size 10, so that's above average weight. 5'3", you should be roughly dress size 4. 4'6", 125 pounds. Even if I believe you're 157, 160, you're almost 33 pounds, 33% over your ideal target weight. And you have listen. If you're average to cute looking, if you're below average health from a weight standpoint, and you have 2 children, overall, does that make you below average, average, or above average? Factor all those things in together.
Average.
So why should you get anything over? Then why should you get above average? What do you mean settle for? You should get what you are.
I see millionaires with average women all the time.
I see my issue is this throwing around of like average or whatever. I guess it's a term you could use to describe people, but I guess my thing is what advice do these women be calling into Kevin Samuels looking for? Like dead ass. Like I mean like on like some dead ass type shit. Like what is it that they're exactly looking for? Because I've watched several of these things now, just like I said, to get a better perspective of Kevin Samuels. And I still don't understand exactly like what these women are asking for. Are they looking for affirmation for what they already believe? That like are these people truly delusional? You know, because again, right, like you got to have a very to make it in life, you have to have a good understanding of what your limitations are. And so I always question, like me, I knew if I stand next to fucking Chris Brown or like Trey Songz and shit, you know what I'm saying? And women had to pick which one of us they wanted to sleep with. I know I'm getting picked last, right? Like, I don't understand. Like, do these women honestly think that they're like at the upper echelon of like what men are looking for? Because I feel like self-reflection is lacking in a lot of these people that call into Kevin. But at the same time, what are they looking for? I'm always baffled, but okay, here we go.
They don't have big chest tattoos either. And 2 other kids. Man, I'm just saying. Okay, I want to, no, I mean, let's be honest. Why should an average woman say she's settling for an average man? Maybe that
wrong with it.
Yeah, that's that bullshit.
No,
That's
you
that
said
bullshit.
so I should just settle. No, you said that. Listen. You said so I should just settle for an average guy, and I'm like, you're an average woman. Why should you not?
I would be settling. I mean, nothing
Why
wrong with
why would you be settling and he wouldn't? So what would he be doing? Would he be upgrading?
He don't got no money. So if he don't have no money,
you ain't fine enough for no money.
I'm not fine enough for money.
No.
No.
You're 6. You're 5. You said you're 6, man. You said you're 6. Man. You don't get money. You get second shift at the plant.
Dog.
Did you go to college?
No, I didn't.
Okay, ma'am.
I have my own business.
Congratulations. Don't care. Man, you got 2 children. And you said you are 6. I give you 5, 6. Your numbers together would be average. So why? So an average man would be upgrading to get you.
Look, I didn't say.
I'm asking, ma'am, because I'm the man. We're just having a conversation. You said you'd be settling, so by extension, he would be.
So I guess we'll be settling for each other.
Well, but no. But my issue is.
Before we go on, look at all these people waiting to talk to Kevin, and it just says 7 people waiting to enter the room. I wonder if 7 more than these people here, or just 7 altogether. So, shout out to Kevin for really using his platform and like growing his brand, bro. Because I cannot believe that 7 women are waiting to talk to this man just to go through what this woman is going through. That has to be the most. I don't even have really a word to describe it. I guess oxymoron to a certain extent, like. Because again, I don't understand what advice they're getting from this guy, but let's just finish this out here real quick.
You said settling for him. That means you'd be getting something less than what you deserve. When we settle, we get less.
Look at how frustrated she's getting as she's like getting backed like into a corner to accept like exactly what you're saying. Like it's not. It's like. She can't even look past like what she is like basically saying. You were saying that if you settle for somebody that like you deserve better, because settling means that you're just accepting whatever the situation is, meaning that you could do better or that there's better out there for you, or at least you want better. Whether or not it's available is, entirely up to speculation, but that you want better. And that a man that just works hard and takes care of you ain't good enough. You know what I'm saying? Because he ain't got no money. Okay.
I already have everything that I need. If he's not adding to me, then that will be settling, right?
Fabian, I want you to understand what I asked you last night. I asked this question oftentimes with Black women. If you have to work as hard today or harder if you want children with a husband, would you rather have a husband or be single? And almost 100% of the time, Black women would say, if I have to work as hard as I am today with a husband, I'd rather be single, because a husband is not just by being a man ain't enough. He's supposed to make her life easier. That is why I have no problem telling women to die alone. It is not our job to make women's lives easier. It's our job to protect, provide, but that's not necessarily easy. It's harder. Relationships are hard. So, ma'am, you got all the things you need, except somebody to share life with.
It's not so much that that he just berated women all the time. It's just that sometimes they did have that shit coming. Like, here is a delusional individual who, and I say delusional as you could want any type of man that you want, right? Like, that's the benefit of life in the world we live in now. But for you to say that, I'm saying you would be settling for any man who doesn't quote unquote make a certain amount of money is, saying some bullshit, because for so long people have just wanted to make a real connection with people. That's the kind of the world that we transition to. And I don't agree with Kevin Samuels on relationships, because his thing is very hard on just, women just have to accept the way men are and need to be more traditional in how the way women used to be. And I don't agree with that, because so many women were miserable in marriages. You know what I'm saying? They were just kind of stuck with a man who with men that didn't really like raising kids, didn't really like, all they saw themselves is how he described it right there, protectors and providers. So as long as all the bills were paid, they did whatever the fuck they wanted to do. Had wives on a whole other side of the fucking country, side chicks all over fucking town and shit. They just kind of were just terrible ass fucking, husbands and boyfriends and shit like that. Right. And, to a certain extent, you can make the argument that really hasn't much changed. But at the end of the day, women do have the right to be happy. We all have that right to be happy, right? The same reason as to why men get with certain women is because we want to be happy. We no longer just chase beauty and chase just the best of the best, as far as like physical attributes go, right? Like men are progressing to understanding that, physical attributes aren't everything. That like a real solid connection needs to be made there. When I get home, I want it to be peaceful. I want to vibe with my woman. I want her to be like my best friend. I want to be able to come to her and talk to her about anything. So that's where I don't agree with, a lot of what Kevin Samuel says. Although I do think that when it comes to him speaking about high value men who make $100,000, $1 million, $10 million a year, they do have their they do get their pick of the litter. They do get to pick whoever they want. And they probably do think that way, because a lot of those guys are alpha male driven. I will run someone over with a truck to get to my destination and the goal in life that I'm trying to get to. And I will get there by any means necessary. So in general, they're not really a lot of times great, decent people to begin with anyway, right? And so that's the irony of all this, is that these women be out here looking for men who don't care to make emotional connections. And I don't want to box everybody into that, right? I don't want to generalize, but generally speaking, men who are worth a lot of money tend to think of themselves very highly. And so they tend to think they're like, yo, you lucky to be with me, not the other way around, especially if they bring you into that. But to put it into perspective, this is the reason as to why I didn't so much believe in a lot of what Kevin Samuel said, is because I tend to think from a human component, we're now transitioning even as men to understanding that, I'm not just a protector and a provider. Like I want that soulmate. I want that connection as well, right? Like I get up every day, help get my kids dressed. When I get home, I play with my kids, work is out the door. I'm trying to be the father that I would want my kids to have, and a protector and a provider, and somebody just comes home and doesn't want to have anything to do with them other than just, making sure that they got a roof over their head, because that's how I was raised, right? Like essentially, nigga, you lucky to have a roof over your head, food in your belly. And that's just kind of what was told to us all the fucking time. And as a kid, it didn't matter how we felt or what was going on. The only thing that mattered was, you got a place to stay. You got a place to eat, stay in the kid's place, all that shit. That's not the wave anymore, man. And it's never going to be, we're not going back to that. So, I never really felt bad for women that had to deal with Kevin Samuel's shit, because they were delusional. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, like, Kevin Samuels always kept it real on the forefront of, back to what I was saying earlier, is that life is a contact sport, bro. And by contact sport, I mean, it's a competition. And that's the reality of life. Everything is a competition. When you go to a club, understand that the way that you look, if you are looking to meet somebody, right? Like you're basically competing against every woman there. If you're a man and you going out to the club and you trying to pull somebody, you're competing against every man there who also wants to get that girl's number. You know what I'm saying? So what separates you from that? And sometimes you got to be realistic, right? Like, I know that like I'm never going to be as attractive as Shamar Moore. You know what I'm saying? Like understand your place in life, right? Like there is a genetic pool of people who were dealt great genetics. And there are some of us, who weren't, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like when you accept who you are as a person, that's when you're at your happiest. You know what I'm saying? And to all the people that was all like, it no matter what Kevin said, that's not true. She's sitting up here talking about, I know plenty of millionaires that married average women. No, you don't. You don't know a bunch of millionaires that married average women, because generally speaking, millionaires don't marry, you know what I'm saying, your everyday working woman. They usually marry someone either in a highly desirable profession or, you know what I'm saying, a model of some sort. And that's just kind of how, you know, it's always been. You're not going to see, well, you know, you got like Denzel Washington, Samuel Jackson, that Ryan Coogler met their wives early, you know, came up with them. So yeah, like, yeah, you're going to see those type of millionaires, but you're not going to see a man who was single all through his 35s, finally made it, now is claiming to be, you know what I'm saying, making $250,000 a year. And then he's just going to go find a chick that, you know what I'm saying, is working at McDonald's. You know, that's just not how the world works. And that's always been the thing that I most respected about Kevin Samuels is that, one, he was just keeping it real. It's hard to put it in any other perspective than the way that he's saying it, because people don't want to see that shit. Now that is where, you know, saying women truly were being delusional. They don't want to see the reality that Kevin Samuels is trying to give to them. They want to believe in the fairy tale. They want to believe in, yo, so I done seen a shit ton of movies. This is the way that I want it to be. That shit don't work that way, right? And you already starting off on the wrong foot when you're eliminating a certain group of men out of your life because you want this type of man, because otherwise you would be settling. And my thing is how are you settling for a man that loves you, that will love you? You know what I'm saying? That shit is crazy. Just because he doesn't make a certain amount of money. You get what I'm saying? And to my men out here, the reality is that women do want stable men, you know what I'm saying? Real women, you know, not these delusional women that be calling in to Kevin Samuels. Because I know a lot of real women, a lot of dope women, and they just want a good man, you know what I'm saying, who does have drive, does want to keep progressing in life, doesn't have to be a millionaire, doesn't have to be pulling in six figures, but, you know what I'm saying, can, you know, grow with them and provide a quality of life where they can be comfortable. That's what me and my wife has always strived for. And that's where we're at. And, you know, a lot of people that got to see us come from the ground up, they tell us all the time, man, I'm so proud of y'all. Y'all such a beautiful couple, all of that. Right. And that ultimately is what we're all striving for. These people that call into Kevin Samuels, even the people he be talking about, they make up 10% of all people in the world. 90% of people just want real love, just want a regular person. They just want to have that happiness to know when they walk in their house, yo, this person is here for me, I'm here for them, and we're going to build a beautiful life together, and we're going to die old together. That's all they want, man. It's unfortunate that Kevin Samuels passed away, man, because I always found the man genuinely entertaining. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I never took him seriously. And even when I first started watching him, I definitely didn't think people took him seriously. It wasn't until I seen all the little comments under his videos and niggas being all like, yo, man, this is and, you know, he's been real, you know, y'all just can't handle the truth. To where I truly finally figured out, oh, okay, so it's actually niggas out here taking this man seriously, like dead ass. I never in my wildest dreams would have honestly watched any of his videos and thought people were taking him seriously. But if you watch a full YouTube video or a full Instagram live thing where he's on there, because, you know, he's got something on his Instagram page where they're like 100, you know what I'm saying, like 100 minutes or whatever. So, you know, if you watch the whole thing right, you get the full perspective. You don't just get the sound bites. The sound bites are bad, but if you watch the whole thing, you do get a full perspective of exactly where he's coming from. And so I guess that's kind of the thing about Kevin Samuels, because again, like I said, I think ultimately his legacy will be that he was, you know, not the person who should have been given the message. You know what I'm saying? The messenger damaged the message. And ultimately, if you don't talk to people the right way, especially in today's society, you're not going to get very far. But shout out to Kevin Samuels, man, because when he first came onto the scene, he had this little thing. I don't think he was scratching even 100,000 followers. He might have been just above 100,000 followers. I went to this man's Instagram page today. He got 1.2 million followers. And like on Instagram, he got 1.4 million subscribers. I don't know the last time anyone has had a quicker rise to fame than Kevin Samuels. So, and that's a testament to being who you are, believing truthfully and wholeheartedly in what you believe and sticking to your guns. It's also a testament to how many people are fucked up out here and like think that this man is like some fucking prophet. But that's a title. That's a conversation for another day. At the end of the day, Kevin Samuels, he was just entertaining, man. That's it. He was just funny. That's it. Some people saw him as a prophet. Some people saw him as an ass. But in reality, he was just a highly entertaining goofball. He's the definition of a dead clock is right twice a day, and nothing against him, what I'm saying? And may his soul rest in peace. But I see him very indifferently. I don't see him as somebody that provided a lot of great positive energy into the world and truly wanted to make it better. But I also don't see him as like this super bad, evil. I seen comments where people was like, how many women got raped and killed because of Kevin Samuels? I'm like, yo, okay. Oh my God. Like, way to really like reach out there and like pull some shit straight out of thin air. Now, do I think he made like 100 times more fuck niggas? Oh yeah, absolutely. He's absolutely some brainwashed niggas out here watching this shit. But that's the power of today's world that we live in. But that's it, y'all. That's all that I have, man. Hopefully you took something from this. Once again, appreciate everybody that's tuning in. If you can go ahead, once again, click that subscribe button. Also click that notification button so that way you can get all the updates. Also, the audio version is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your listening pleasure. Also, please go there, rate, drop a review. All that helps with growing the pod. You know what I'm saying? Also, you can visit me at www.shadowrose to drop off all those listening letters. With that being said, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. It's been real. As always, keep your 10 toes down, and I'm out, y'all.